Hello and welcome to this week's weekly Alteryx challenge. We're on challenge number 12. Those that have been following is where you watch me fumble my way through the challenges that we have on the Alteryx community. It's supposed to be a weekly challenge that comes up on a nearly weekly basis from Alteryx. Now they've been running for about 3 or 4 years. And I'm just about starting this process. Obviously, I'm number 12, so I have some catching up to do. So anyway, before this week, we have a challenge of creating a hierarchy using HR data. So if we just have a look at the data, we've got these ranks or roles within the organization, and then we have this ID and manager ID, and we're supposed to create a full hierarchy from each individual up through the organization and the levels that they have. So effectively what we've got to do is kind of run through joining the information that we have for the employee and their manager on multiple times to get the multiple rows here. So we've got 4 rows of analysts with each of these, and in the base data we've got 1 role, so we've got to generate these additional fields appearing against multiple rows of analysts. So let's start with a join, and it's quite a slightly unusual join in that you're going to join it to itself, because we want to basically the information that we want in there in terms of who the manager is actually is in the file itself. So so you see we've got this set up, we've got the 3 fields repeated now, and we've got this right appearing against the rename. So we want to take the manager ID and map it with the ID on the right side. Okay, so that will give us it. Now we don't need the manager ID, because we're going to bring that data in, the original data in from the start, but we do need the right side. So we want to rename this man underscore ID here. Underscore would be useful. ID here. Now we also don't need this stuff here, because that's just going to confuse it, extra columns we don't need. So we'll just be left with employee ID and then a new manager ID, which is actually of the manager's ID. And the reason we want to do that is we've got the original one, we want to build them up layer by layer into that. So if I just run that, what we'll be left with is this. You can see is a manager analyst. If we concentrate on the analyst, it says now we've got 3-1, and if you remember from the initial one for analysts, we've got 3-2. So 2 is the manager role, and 3, we go here, 3 is the director role. So let's 1 is the director role. So that will give us the ability to carry on going that way. So I think if we just copy this and paste it down there, don't connect to the right side, we want to connect to the join, and then we want to bring in the original one again. Okay, so now in here it's done the same thing, but this time it knows that, it doesn't rename it because it's already named that way, and it knows we're not going to select it. Well, we hadn't selected it, it's already selected, so it doesn't try and do the right bit here. It's just automatically work that bit out. So we can do that a few times, I think. Let's just see. So that we've got 5 layers. So let's just run this and see what we get. So we've got 4, 3, and I believe this will be 2. Yeah, because it's each time it's knocking off one, because as you're adding in, it's going up the layer, up the hierarchy, so it's laying it out. So and then we want to repeat it. Let's just to show you what I mean. But what we're going to do is union it eventually all back together. And if I run this, what we end up there is so analyst is 3.1, analyst is 3.4, analyst is 3.5, and if we look in here in the data, we've got these different with it, and we just have to marry what does those numbers mean in terms of the ranking back again. That's another join, but that will build up this field here, and then we need to work out the hierarchy. So I think we can do one more of these here, and then bring in the original data set, and then loop that into the union. Okay, and that was the last one, and that marries up to null effectively because that's the last one in the hierarchy. So if we look here, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, but we also want the original in there as well. So that's that, but I want to rename, so select order of output. I think that number 5 should be first. Maybe we should have joined that first, but never mind, we can work with that. So now we have the layers in here. So we can now map man ID to these levels from the original set of data. So if we do that via a join, bring that in, and we just want to map man ID with ID, and we want just the employee, but we want to rename that to be, what do we want to rename it to be? Manager. So we rename that to be manager, and we can get rid of this and this. That should just give us, let's just run that and see what we get. That should give us the manager roles in here. So now we need to sort it. So in here, it's alphabetical, possibly. So let's just sort it by alphabetical and see what we get. So it's employee ascending. Okay, so we now have that, although it's not, maybe we then need a second, which is the manager director. That's not the same order, is it? So no, it's director, then manager in here. There's a manager come before. That's a bit strange. Yes, the manager has a director as its lead, but in our data we've got it the other way around. Don't think it matters. We need to know which layers for it. It does matter because we need to be able to put 1, 2, 3, 4 against them. But we know that managers, right there, this is to work out that level from the top. Okay, well this output here gives us it in reverse order. So we could actually map it back, I believe, because in here we could give it a ranking and then have a look. Is it on the left? Yeah, so we've got 5 CEO. We make that. Yeah, so if we could let's create a record ID against that. So if we do that, what we will end up with is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against them, but we want it the other way round. Okay, so we can order them by this record ID, and that will give us the ability to, so let's do a quick join to do that. And I always like to join on the left, although it does mean this thing crosses over, but that's fine. So what we really want is just the record ID, and we want to marry that against the Oh, we got in here. We want to marry that against the actual employee on the right side. We want to bring in the employee and we want to marry it against the manager. So it's the manager against the employee, and we just want to bring in the record ID. Okay, so if we run that, suddenly we've got analyst and then record ID 1. And so if we sort that by, it's messed up my sorting again, but if we sort that by employee and then manager, so let's, I guess we can just move this and reuse this one. Bring that through straight away because the sort doesn't really matter. And then what we want to do is by record ID descending. Let's run that and see what we get. Okay, so suddenly now we have it in the right order, although the record ID is the wrong way round. Yeah, so if we can't, can we use that? No, we can't use that because we just need to count a number. So can we? How do you best do that? So we want to do a multi-row formula? Yeah, that was it, multi-row formula, where we want to a new field, and we'll call it, what was it? Hierarchy, and we want to group by employee, and the expression is +1, so we want to take equals +1. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, so now we have that hierarchy 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 for manager, and we actually want to sort it by the ID. No, we don't want to sort it by the ID. We want to, what's the difference here? Okay, they do have it that way. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we actually have the result. We just need to clean it up a bit. Wow, that was. So if we just take out, what do we need? We don't need ID or man. We want manager. We don't need record ID. We want hierarchy. We run that, and there you go. Got the answer. Got exactly the same as in the output. Thank you very much for watching, and join me again next time. Although I believe, looking in the description on the Alteryx website, this is actually done via an iterative macro, or can be done by an iterative macro. And I might come back at a future date and do this as a macro, but I wanted to see if I could just do it using this method first, so I understood the process before I attempted doing a macro. That's not something I've done before, so watch this space. I may redo this one with a macro. Thanks very much, and bye.